Hey everyone, welcome. This is your guide to what we're doing this cycle and why it's unlike anything you've ever done before in the gym. You're probably noticing training feels different the past few weeks, and that's because this cycle is using something called contraction type drop sets. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly what's happening in your body during every single rep and why no other facility on the planet programs this way. Let's get into it. Here's the foundation of everything we do this cycle. Your muscles don't have one level of strength. They have three, and they're not all equal. Concentric strength, the lifting phase, is your weakest contraction type. When your muscles shorten to push a weight up, that's the hardest thing it can do. That's 100% of your capacity. That's all most gyms ever train. They have you lift the weight, then they call it a day. Isometric strength, the holding phase, is 120% of your concentric max. That means you could hold about 20% more than you can lift. When we have you pause and hold a weight at a specific angle, your muscles are working beyond what they could ever lift. Most people never tap into this. Eccentric strength, the lowering phase, is up to 150% of your concentric max. You can lower up to 50% more than you can ever lift. That is your strongest contraction type. It's the one almost no one trains properly. So here's the question. If most gyms only train your weakest contraction type, what are they leaving on the table? The answer is a lot. And that's exactly what we fix in this cycle. Okay, let's break down each contraction type, benefits and limitations, because understanding the limitations is how you understand why we don't stop there. Concentric strength, the lifting phase. The benefits: it builds raw pushing and pulling strength. It forces your nervous system to recruit as many motor units as possible. It drives power output, which is tied to your reaction time and daily function. We can measure it precisely with velocity tracking. We target 0.3 to 0.6 meters per second in that zone and know exactly when you've hit your working capacity. But there are some limitations. Concentric strength is only 100% of your capacity. It's the ceiling for lifting, but it's actually the floor for what your muscles can actually do. It's the least effective contraction type for building muscle. It provides limited stimulus to your tendons and connective tissues. And when you've hit concentric failure, when you can't lift the weight anymore, you've only exhausted one type of strength. You still have 20 to 50% capacity left in the tank. Now, this is where other gyms stop. They see you can't lift anymore, and they say, good set. At the strength laboratory, that's where we're just getting started. Isometric strength, the holding phase, is 120% of your concentric max. After you can no longer lift the weight, you can still hold it. The benefits: you're working at 20% beyond your lifting capacity. Your nervous system has nowhere to hide. Every fiber that's going to fire has to fire just to keep the weight from moving. We can also target weak points at specific joint angles. Hold it at your sticking point for 30 seconds, and that forces your body to get stronger right where it's weakest. Zero joint movement means minimal wear and tear. Perfect for our population. And here's one that's critical. Isometric training is therapeutic for tendons. Tendons respond to sustained loading. Hold a challenging load for 30 seconds at the tendon and the cells get compressed. Blood flow increases during the release and healing factors flood the tissue. This is the gold standard for tendon rehabilitation in physical therapy. While using it as a training tool and a healing tool, we are using it as a training tool and a healing tool simultaneously. Now, there are some limitations. Isometric strength gains are somewhat angle specific. 15 degrees above, 15 degrees below. You get strongest at the angle you train. You're still 30% below your eccentric capacity, however. And by itself, isometric work has limited muscle growth stimulus. It needs to be combined with dynamic work for the full effect, which is exactly what we do. Eccentric strength, the lowering phase. This is a big one. 150% of your concentric max. After you no longer can lift it, after you no longer can hold it, you can still lower it. The benefits, you're working at up to 50% beyond your lifting capacity. That is a massive training stimulus your body has never experienced from a regular gym workout. Eccentric training is the #1 stimulus for muscle growth. The slow lengthening under load creates the most mechanical tension and the strongest signal for your body to build back bigger. It's also the #1 stimulus for tendon strength. Slow eccentrics are prescribed by physical therapists worldwide for tendon injuries. We're using the same science as rehabilitation, but applying it as prevention and performance. Eccentrics teach deceleration, your body's braking system. Every time you catch yourself from a fall, control a heavy object, or lower yourself into a chair, that is eccentric strength. And we make it accessible with 2 techniques. The 2-to-1 technique, you lift with both limbs and lower with one, and the 2 movement technique, you lift with an easier movement and lower with a harder one. Both let us use supramax eccentric loading safely on machines. Limitations. There's going to be a little bit more soreness than regular training, a little bit higher recovery demand, and it requires proper coaching. This isn't something you wing, and it has to be programmed carefully within a cycle, not just thrown in randomly, which is why we periodize our system. Here's exactly how we structure the contraction type drop sets. And notice, we don't drop the weight, we climb the capacity ladder. Phase 1 is the concentric ramp. 3 sets working up in your velocity. Phase 1, concentric ramp. 3 sets working up to your velocity zone. Between 0.35, 0.6 meters per second. Full reps, controlled lifting and lowering. We're finding your concentric ceiling, the most your muscles can lift today. That's 100% capacity. Phase 2, isometric hold. Reset the weight. Now hold it at mid-range, about halfway through the movement for 30 or so seconds. Nothing is moving. Your muscles are fighting gravity at an angle. And here's the key. You're now working at 120% of your concentric capacity. You couldn't lift the weight anymore, but you can hold it. Every second of that hold is training beyond normal lifting. Every second of that hold is training beyond what normal lifting can reach. Phase 3, eccentric AMRAP, or as many rounds and reps as possible. For the final 3 minutes, you perform as many 5-second lowering reps as possible. Using the 2-to-1 technique, lift with 2 limbs, lower with 1, or the 2 movement technique, lift with the easier movement and lower with the harder one. Each rep takes 5 seconds on the way down. You can't lift it, you can't hold it, but you can still lower it. That is 150% of your concentric capacity being trained. By the time you're done, you've literally exhausted every capacity your muscle has. There is nothing left on the table. Concentric, tapped. Isometric, tapped. Eccentric, tapped. That is total muscular exhaustion across all 3 contraction types. Now, here's something that separates us from every other gym. We don't just build you up, we heal you while we build you. Isometric holds are literally prescribed by physical therapists for tendon rehabilitation. When you hold a challenging load for 30 seconds, you compress the tendon cells. When you release, blood flows back in carrying healing factors. Over time, this reduces tendon pain and increases tendon capacity. We're doing therapeutic tendon work as part of your training, not as a separate rehabilitation session. Slow eccentrics, those 5-second lowering reps, are the gold standard worldwide for treating tendinopathy. Slow lengthening under load realigns the collagen fibers in your tendons. It increases tendon stiffness in a good way, making them more resilient and able to handle higher loads. If you have elbow issues, knee issues, shoulder issues, eccentric training is the #1 protocol for fixing them. And when you combine all 3 contraction types into one session, concentric rebuilds healthy movement patterns. Isometric reduces pain at specific joint angles. Eccentric remodels the actual tissue structure. You get prevention and rehabilitation built into every single training session. This is strength training as medicine, not instead of it. Now look at the difference visually. A regular gym trains concentric only. When you can't lift it, you're done. They use 100% of your weakest contraction type and call it a workout. A good gym might add some isometric work. Pauses, holds, That gets you to about 120%. Better, but still leaving 30% of your capacity untouched. At the Strength Laboratory, we climb the entire ladder. Concentric, tapped. Isometric, tapped. Eccentric, tapped. 150%. By the time you finish a contraction type drop set, your muscles have literally given everything they have across all three ways they can produce force. There is nothing left on the table. Zero. That's maximum stimulation. That's maximum results. And that's why 6 weeks of this produces changes that other programs can't in even 6 months. I want you to understand something. The Strength Laboratory is 784 square feet. It's not a mega gym. It's not a franchise or chain. It's a laboratory. A strength laboratory. What happens inside is unlike anything happening in any gym anywhere. We go to the ends of the earth to bring you the training methods that only ivory tower scholars and elite athletic coaches have ever researched. We read the studies. We study under the masters. We translated it into a system you can actually use. Coached every single rep, measured every single session. Contraction type training, velocity based auto regulation, concurrent periodization, the accentuated eccentrics, post-tetanic potentiation complexes. These aren't buzzwords. These are concepts that professional sports teams pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement. Methods that Division I strength coaches build entire careers around. Programming that only the top fraction of a percent of athletes in the world have ever experienced. You're experiencing them right now. Every session in La Habra, California. We take your strength seriously at the Strength Laboratory. You're part of an elite group of people who are doing things that most coaches have never ever fathomed. Most gym members will never know what a contraction type drop set is. They'll never experience post-tetanic potentiation. They'll never have their velocity tracked in real time. You know it. You experience it. And your body is changing because of it. 100%, 120%, 150%. We don't stop when most gyms stop. We don't stop when you can't lift it. We don't stop when you can't hold it. We don't even stop until you've given everything across all contraction types your muscles are capable of producing. Lift it, hold it, lower it, leave nothing on the table. Trust the cycle. Push through every phase. Your body is being rebuilt from the inside out. Stronger muscles, tougher tendons, sharper nervous system, fewer weak links. Strength is your insurance policy to independence. Let's keep those premiums paid. See you in the gym.